Alright, everybody, welcome in. This is Sean to me, and today we're going to be reading through, hold on, let me check, Joel chapter 1 and chapter 2. So let's just get started. Chapter 1. The word of the Lord that came to Joel, son of Pethalu. An invasion of locusts. Hear this, you elders. Listen, all who live in the land. Has anything like this ever happened in your days, or in the days of your ancestors? Tell it to your children, and let your children tell it to their children, and let their children to the next generation what the locust swarm has left. The great locusts have eaten what the great locusts have left. The young locusts have eaten what the young locusts have left. Other locusts have eaten. Wake up, you drunkards, and weep. Wail, all you drinkers of wine. Wail because of the new wine, for it has been snatched from your lips. A nation has invaded my land, a mighty army without number. It has the teeth of a lion, the fangs of a lioness. It has laid waste my veins, and ruined my fig trees. It has stripped off their bark, and thrown it away, leaving their branches white. Mourn like a virgin in sackcloth, grieving for the thread of her youth. Grain offerings and drink offerings are cut off from the house of the Lord. The priests are mourning, in mourning. Those who minister before the Lord, the fields are ruined. The ground is dried up. The grain is destroyed. The new wine is dried up. The olive oil fails. Despair, you farmers. Wail, you vine growers. Grieve for the wheat and barley, because the harvest of the field is destroyed. The vine is dried up. The fig tree is withered. The pomegranate and the palm and the apple tree. All trees of the field are dried up. Surely the peoples of joy is withered away. Alright, a call to lamentations. Put on sackcloth, you priests, and mourn. Wail, you who minister before the altar. Come spend the night in sackcloth. You who minister before my God, for the grain offerings and drink offerings are withheld from the house of your God. Declares a holy fast. Call a sacred assembly. Summon the elders and all who live in the land to the house of the Lord your God, and cry out to the Lord. Alas, for that day, for that day of the Lord is near. It will come like destruction from the Almighty. Has not the food been cut off before our very eyes? Joy and gladness from the house of our gods. The seeds are shivered beneath the clouds. The storehouses are in ruins. The garners have been broken down, for the grain has dried up. How the cattle moan, the herds mill about, because they have no pasture. Even the flocks of sheep are suffering. To you, Lord, I call, for fire has devoured the pastures in the wilderness. The flames have burned up all the trees of the field. Even the wild animals pant for you. The streams of water have dried up. The fire has devoured the pastures in the wilderness. Man. Alright, Chapter 2. An Army of Locusts. Blow the trumpet in Zion. Sound the alarm on my holy hill. Let all who live in the land tremble, for the day of the Lord is coming. It is close at hand, a day of darkness and gloom, a day of clouds and blackness, like dawn spreading across the land, mountains. A large and mighty army comes, such as never was in ancient times, nor ever be in ages to come. Before them fire devours, behind them a flame blazes. Before them the land is like the Garden of Eden. Behind them a desert waste. Nothing escapes them. They have the appearance of horses. They gallop along the cavalry, with a noise like that of chariots. They leap over the mountain tops, like crackling fire consuming stubble, like a mighty army drawn up for battle. At the sight of them, nations are in anguish. Every face turns pale. They change like warriors. They scale walls like soldiers. They all march in line, not swerving from their courses. They do not joust each other. Each march straight ahead. They plunge through the fences without breaking ranks. They rush upon the city. They run along the wall. They climb into the houses. Like thieves, they enter through the windows. Before them the earth shakes. The heavens tremble. The sun and moon are darkened, and stars no longer shine. The Lord thunders. At the head of his army, his forces are beyond number. And mighty is the army that obeys his command. The day of the Lord is great. It is dreadful. Who can endure it? Alright, a lot of what's going on here is just stuff the Lord is going to do to the land. He's going to send an invasion of locusts, and then later on, he's going to send an army of locusts, which is going to make it even worse. And he's just going to keep doing this to the land because nobody is listening to what the Lord has to say. And, in the real world, it's getting like that right now. If you're paying attention, you can find out that a lot of stuff is getting very, very dark right now. And things need to change. So, we're bound to see a storm before the sun again. And the sun is setting right now, so we're getting ready to see that storm. And once the storm disappears, we'll see the sun rise again, so on and so forth. That's what he's getting at with all this. So, all right, render your heart now, even now, declares the Lord. Return to me with all your heart, with fasting and weeping and mourning. Render your heart, and not the garments. Return to the Lord your God, for he is gracious and compassionate, slow to anger, and abounding in love, and he relents from sending calamity. Who knows, he may turn and relent and leave behind a blessing, an offering and drink offerings for the Lord your God. Blow the trumpet in Zion, declares a holy fast. Call a sacred assembly. Gather the people, consecrate the assembly, bring together the elders, gather the children, those nursing at the breast. Let the bridegroom leave his room, and the bride her chamber. Let the priest who minister before the Lord weep between the portico and the altar. Let them say, spare your people, Lord, do not make your inheritance an object of scorn. Byword among the nations. Why should they say among the people, where's their God? So they're talking about, well, there might be a chance that the Lord might relent and send blessings instead of all the locusts. So, but they're not sure. And, you know, we're reading a lot of like destruction going on right now because God's not happy. So, all right, the Lord's answer. Then the Lord was jealous for his land and took pity on his people. The Lord replied to them, I am sending you grain, new wine, and olive oil, enough to satisfy you fully. Never again will I make an object of scorn to the nations. I will drive the northern horde far from you, pushing it into the parched and barren land. Its eastern rank will drown in the Dead Sea, and western ranks in the Mediterranean Sea. And its stench will go up, its smells will rise. Surely he has done great things. Do not be afraid, land of Judah. Be glad and rejoice. Surely the Lord has done great things. Do not be afraid, you wild animals. For pasture is the wilderness, in the wilderness are becoming green. The trees are bearing their fruit. The fig tree and the vine yield their riches. Be glad, people of Zion. Rejoice in the Lord your God, for he has given you the autumn rains, because he is faithful. He sends you abundant showers, both autumn and spring rains, as before. Man, my congestion is still bad. The threshing floor will be filled with grain. The vats will overflow the new wine and olive oil and oil. I will repay you for the years of locust have eaten, the great locust and the young locust, the other locust and the locust swarm. My great army I sent among you. You will have plenty to eat until you are full, and you will praise the name of the Lord your God, who has worked wonders for you. Never again will my people be ashamed. Then you will know that I am the Lord, that I am in Israel, that I am the Lord your God, and that there is no other. Never again will my people be ashamed. Alright, so he's saying he's going to send a lot of food because of all the destruction, because the famine is over. So, the day of the Lord, and afterward I will pour out my spirit on all the people. Your son and daughters will prosper. Your old men will dream dreams. Your young men will see visions. Even on my servant, both men and women, I will pour out my spirit in those days. I will show wonders in heavens and on the earth. Blood and fire will billow of smoke. The sun will be turned to darkness and the moon to blood before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord, and everyone who calls on the name of it will be saved. For on Mount Zion and in Jerusalem there will be deliverance, as the Lord has said, even among the survivors whom the Lord calls. Alright, so that's chapter 3. So, he's saying we're gonna make now that I'm giving you guys back all your food, we're gonna make this a day of me. A day of the Lord. And that's the blessing he's doing. And for the blessing, he wants the return of celebration of him. So, and again, this is exactly what happens when you do listen to God. You listen to God, you pray, and you'll see yourself come out of like the most bad events. And it's, and the Lord will bless you and give you great, incredible things. So, and yeah, that's about it. So if you like what you saw here, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll be seeing you next time. Have a great day, and God bless.